American oil production dropped by about 3% last year. In fact, today, Cleveland-based Standard Oil announced a loss of $345 million for 1986. These days, there are so many bankruptcies in Texas, the courts are having trouble keeping up with them. How will these problems affect us here in Northeast Ohio? In tonight's report, Washington correspondent Kevin Coakley looks at the long road back for the U.S. oil industry.
Blue sky smiling at me.
The blue skies are now gray over America's oil patch. Oklahoma was forced to slash the state budget. Now Louisiana is doing the same. And not long ago, Texas ran a huge surplus. Now it's a Texas-sized deficit.
Somewhere in the range of $4.5 to $5 billion.
Mu over 4 pi kh, of course, you're going to have to put it in field terms.
If I was graduating right now, I would be worried about it.
There are no jobs available.
I've got all my eggs in one basket, basically.
Classrooms like this one at the University of Texas used to be full. 4 years ago, there were 350 freshmen in the petroleum engineering program here. Now there are just 28, not even enough to fill these first 3 rows.
In 2 years, we're going to have many fewer graduating seniors than the industry will want.
As long as you can stay in it a couple of years, when things get better, you'll have it made in the shade.
We'll get a barrel of oil for 100 barrels of water. That's good to cut.
Oklahoma's Burbank field's been producing oil since before the turn of the century. In the older fields, there's much more water than oil, and 20 barrels of crude a day is a good well. But so-called stripper wells, which pump fewer than 10 barrels a day, produce nearly 15% of all American crude. And the small operations are the first to shut down when the price of oil plunges.
You got to balance your income against your outgo. When it gets to a certain point, you got to make some decisions whether to continue to operate or whether to back up, regroup.
Let's just say that Texas has lost 200,000 barrels a day in producing capacity. Most of that is oil that will not come back.
20 years ago, the Texas Railroad Commission controlled the world price of oil. All that changed with OPEC in the 70s. And now even the OPEC countries struggle to control the price. That is, when they can control themselves.
If OPEC could totally determine prices, my guess is that we would be paying a lot more for our gasoline right now.
2/3 of the world of oil is sitting in a concentrated area around the Persian Gulf and in North Africa that's highly susceptible to political convulsions.
We are putting our destiny of this country into the hands of foreign potentates and foreign sources that this country cannot control.
Kevin Coakley, News Center 8.
Tomorrow night, are Americans' bad habits returning, and how will that affect our supply of American crude?
After a one-day setback, the bulls were on a rampage again on Wall Street. Consuelo Mack has details in today's business report.
At the top of today's business news, a 51-point explosion sends the Dow back into record territory. After yesterday's pause that obviously refreshed, investors poured back into the market and reignited the upward momentum. The final numbers, the Dow jumped a record 51.60 to its new high of 2145.67. Also joining the record books were 4 other market indices. And trading picked up to an active 188 million shares. Gold chimed in, gaining 20 cents to close at $408.30 an ounce. The market ignored a disappointing economic report. The gross national product, which measures the nation's output of goods and services, grew only 1.7% in the final 3 months of last year. That means that GNP grew at a sluggish 2.5% in all of 1986. That's the worst GNP performance since the 1982 recession. There are 2 big contests being played Sunday, one on the field between the Giants and the Broncos, the other in the commercial breaks between soft drink companies. The Super Bowl is the big game for advertisers. 3 soft drink ads will debut during the game this year, including this one for Pepsi's Slice. Advertisers had to fork over a record $600,000 for a 30-second spot. Speaking of money, women still earn less than men, even at the executive level. A recent survey of Fortune 1000 companies found that, on average, women executives earn just under $125,000. Now, they're not complaining, but that is 42% less than their male colleagues. But some regions show more equality than others. For instance, in the Midwest, the salary gap is only 12%, whereas in the South, women managers are paid 68% less. Those are today's business headlines. See you in the morning. I'm Consuelo Mack.